Imagine for a moment that the person you are today is just a fraction of the person you're capable of becoming. I'm talking about the strongest, most powerful version of yourself, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Today is not about settling. It's not about being good enough. It's about waking up and recognizing that everything you've experienced, every challenge, every setback, every triumph has been preparing you for this exact moment, the moment where you decide without hesitation that you are ready to step into a life that demands your very best. Before you can become the strongest version of yourself, you must first understand who you are at your core. Self-mastery begins with awareness. And awareness is more than just knowing your name or what you do. It's about seeing the truth of yourself without excuses, without masks, without hiding from the parts of you that are uncomfortable to confront. Most people go through life operating on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, influenced by the opinions of others, and unaware of the immense potential that lies dormant inside them. But when you start to look inward with honesty, when you start to observe your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors, everything changes. Suddenly, patterns that once controlled you become visible. Habits that held you back lose their power, and you begin to see the choices you've been making, both consciously and unconsciously. This awareness is the foundation of power, because you cannot change what you cannot see, and you cannot grow without first knowing where you truly stand. Awareness forces you to take responsibility. It's easy to blame circumstances, the world, or other people for the way your life has turned out, but real strength comes when you stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. When you take full ownership of your actions, your decisions, and your mindset, you claim the control that allows transformation to happen. And make no mistake, this is not about perfection or judgment. It's about clarity and truth. You begin to notice the moments where fear dictated your choices, the times when comfort overruled courage, and the patterns that have quietly limited your growth. You recognize both your brilliance and your blind spots, your strengths, and the areas where you've been avoiding responsibility. This is not a comfortable process, but it is necessary. Every successful person, every person who has reached the pinnacle of their potential has gone through this process of relentless self-observation, because without knowing who you are and what drives you, you cannot chart a path to who you want to become. Self-awareness also opens the door to emotional intelligence. When you understand your triggers, your fears, your desires, and your motivations, you begin to respond to life rather than react to it. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You find solutions where others see problems, and you gain a level of control over your life that most people never even consider possible. Awareness allows you to make decisions with intention rather than habit, to choose actions that serve your highest purpose rather than defaulting to patterns that limit you. Every thought, every choice, every moment becomes an opportunity to reinforce the strongest version of yourself, because you are no longer operating blindly. You are operating consciously with insight and clarity. When you commit to awareness, you also commit to growth. You accept that there is always more to learn about yourself, that there are always ways to improve, and that the journey to self-mastery is ongoing. You start to notice the subtle ways in which your beliefs shape your reality, the ways in which your internal dialogue either empowers or diminishes you, and the impact that your habits and actions have on your outcomes. Awareness transforms your perspective, and perspective shapes your reality, because once you see the truth of yourself, you gain the power to make choices that align with the life you desire. It is in this place of understanding and conscious observation that the strongest version of yourself begins to emerge. To become the strongest version of yourself, you must confront the barriers that have been holding you back, both seen and unseen. Every limitation you have experienced has been a product of fear, doubt, or self-imposed boundaries that tell you you can't, you're not enough, or it's too hard. These limitations are not truths. They are stories you've accepted, beliefs you've allowed to define your capabilities, and habits that have quietly dictated your potential. Breaking through these barriers begins with recognizing that the only real limitations are the ones you accept as real. When you challenge that belief, when you look at fear square in the eye and refuse to let it dictate your actions, you begin to step into a power you may have never imagined existed inside of you. Every person who has achieved greatness has faced doubt, has encountered obstacles, and has been told no, but the difference is that they refuse to let those limits define them. They decided that the voice inside that said I can't was not stronger than the voice that said I will. Fear is a powerful force, and it thrives in avoidance. It grows when you stop yourself from trying, when you shrink from discomfort, and when you settle for what is safe and familiar. But here's the truth. Strength, growth, and transformation always exist on the other side of fear. Every time you take action in spite of what scares you, every time you stretch beyond what feels comfortable, you chip away at the walls that have confined you. Limitation is never permanent. It is a challenge to rise above, a call to courage, and an opportunity to discover how much more you are capable of than you have ever allowed yourself to believe. Doubt, hesitation, and uncertainty are not enemies. They are signals, markers that show you exactly where growth is possible and where your potential is waiting to be unlocked. The moment you embrace discomfort as part of your journey, the moment you see struggle as a teacher rather than a threat, you begin to experience a freedom and strength that comes from knowing that nothing external has the power to control you unless you give it that power. Breaking through limitations requires relentless action, not just wishful thinking. It requires the willingness to fail, to stumble, and to rise again stronger than before. Every attempt you make, every small victory builds momentum, and momentum breaks down walls that once seemed unmovable. Limitations are often illusions reinforced by repetition, by habit, and by fear, but when you choose to act in defiance of them, when you push your boundaries consistently, you create new standards for yourself. You redefine what is possible, and in doing so, you send a message to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you will not be confined by circumstance or by the expectations of others. Strength grows in the space where limits are tested, where comfort is challenged, and where commitment to your highest self becomes stronger than your excuses. The key is persistence and belief. You will encounter resistance, and the old narratives in your mind will try to convince you to quit, but each step forward is proof that your limitations are optional, that the power to rise above resides within you, and that the strongest version of yourself cannot be held back by anything other than your own decision to hold yourself back. Strength, power, and personal transformation are not born in a single moment of inspiration. They are forged every day through the small, deliberate choices you make. The strongest version of yourself is created not by random bursts of effort, but by consistent, intentional habits that shape your mind, body, and spirit. Every action you take, no matter how minor it may seem, compounds over time to create massive results. It's in the routines you follow, the disciplines you embrace, and the commitments you keep to yourself even when no one is watching, that true strength is built. If you want to reach your highest potential, you must recognize that your daily habits are the engine of transformation. The way you start your morning, the thoughts you feed your mind, the actions you choose in moments of challenge, they all matter more than you realize. They are the invisible threads weaving the fabric of the person you are becoming. Habits are powerful because they bypass the debate in your mind. When you operate on autopilot, most habits are unconscious, and they often reinforce mediocrity. But when you intentionally design your habits, you reclaim control over your life. You decide what behaviors serve your growth and which ones hold you back. It could be as simple as committing to a daily practice of movement, reflection, or learning, but the impact is monumental. The mind responds to repetition, and the body responds to discipline. The more you embed positive habits into your life, the more automatic they become, and the less energy you need to expend resisting negative patterns. The strongest people are not the ones who are motivated every single day. They're the ones who have built habits so deeply that they act in alignment with their highest self, regardless of how they feel. Motivation fluctuates, but habit is reliable, consistent, and unstoppable. Every habit is a statement about who you are becoming. When you choose to read, to exercise, to nourish your body, to focus on meaningful work, you are signaling to yourself that you are committed to growth and excellence. On the other hand, when you allow procrastination, distractions, or negative self-talk to dominate, you are quietly telling yourself that settling is acceptable. True strength emerges when your actions, thoughts, and choices are aligned with your vision of your highest self. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about showing up day after day and taking intentional steps toward improvement. Incremental progress becomes exponential impact, and before you know it, the habits that seem small and insignificant transform you into a person of discipline, resilience, and power. Habits also shape your identity. You become what you repeatedly do. Excellence is not an event, it's a lifestyle, a series of decisions that compound to define who you are. Each time you honor a commitment, push through resistance, or choose action over comfort, you reinforce your capacity for strength and resilience. The most successful and powerful individuals are not extraordinary because of luck or talent alone. They are extraordinary because of the rituals, disciplines, and habits they have embedded in their daily lives. By mastering your daily habits, you master yourself, and mastery over yourself is the gateway to becoming the strongest version of who you can be. Strength is not revealed in moments of comfort or ease. It is forged in the crucible of challenge, in the moments when life tests you, when circumstances push you to your limits, and when everything inside of you wants to give up. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you build, cultivate, and strengthen every time you face adversity and refuse to let it define you. Every challenge, every setback, every obstacle you encounter is an opportunity to grow stronger, to develop grit, and to discover the depth of your own power. The strongest version of yourself does not avoid difficulties. It confronts them head on, knowing that every trial is a chance to rise above, to adapt, and to evolve into someone more capable than you were before. Life will not always be easy, but your response to hardship will determine the trajectory of your growth, your success, and your ultimate fulfillment. Resilience is a mindset, a choice, and a commitment. It is choosing to see problems as opportunities, failures as lessons, and pain as a catalyst for growth. Every person who has achieved greatness has faced moments where giving up would have been the easier path, but they decided instead to push through. They understood that setbacks are temporary, that obstacles obstacles are not walls but stepping stones, and that the only true limitation is the one they accept in their own mind. Resilience is strengthened each time you choose to act in the face of fear, each time you refuse to succumb to despair, and each time you take responsibility for moving forward regardless of the circumstances. It is the courage to keep going when everything in you screams to quit, and the wisdom to learn from each experience so that you emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. Challenges also teach you about your own potential. Often, it is only in moments of struggle that you realize the strength you carry inside. When life tests you, you discover endurance you didn't know existed, creativity you didn't realize you possessed, and determination that surprises even yourself. Every difficulty becomes a mirror, reflecting both your weaknesses and your latent power, giving you the chance to confront both honestly. Resilience is built not by avoiding pain, but by embracing it, by learning to navigate it, and by using it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. The path to the strongest version of yourself is paved with trials, and each trial strengthens your resolve, sharpens your focus, and deepens your capacity to persevere. Finally, resilience transforms your relationship with life itself. You begin to see that obstacles are not punishments, but invitations to grow, that hardships are not signs of failure, but opportunities to expand, and that the journey itself is what shapes you into a stronger, more capable, and more unstoppable individual. When you embrace challenges as essential components of growth, you shift from being a passive participant in life to being an active creator of your destiny. You learn that true strength is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of unwavering courage, relentless determination, and the refusal to let anything derail your journey toward becoming the strongest version of yourself. To become the strongest version of yourself, you must first create a vivid vision of who you want to be, not in vague generalities, but in crystal clear detail that ignites passion and compels action. Your highest self is not a distant fantasy. It is a real, attainable version of you that exists when your thoughts, choices, habits, and actions are fully aligned with your purpose and potential. Most people wander through life without a clear destination, allowing circumstances, distractions, and other people's expectations to dictate their path. But when you commit to seeing yourself at your absolute best, you set a standard that demands growth, courage, and relentless pursuit. This vision becomes a magnetic force, pulling you forward through obstacles, pushing you past fear, and inspiring every decision you make along the journey. Without a compelling vision, effort can feel scattered, motivation can fade, and potential can remain untapped. But with a clear picture of your highest self, every step you take becomes deliberate, powerful, and transformative. Creating this vision requires more than wishful thinking. It demands honesty, introspection, and imagination. Ask yourself what it truly means to live fully, to contribute deeply, and to express your gifts without compromise. It is not enough to say, I want to be better, or I want to succeed. You must define what strength looks like for you, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. How do you respond under pressure? How do you inspire others? What habits, disciplines, and beliefs does this version of you embody? The more precise and compelling the image, the more your mind and body can align with it. When your vision is clear, it acts like a compass, guiding you through uncertainty, providing clarity in chaos, and offering a standard against which every choice can be measured. A vision of your highest self also fuels resilience and persistence. When challenges arise, and they will, you are less likely to quit because you have seen the prize, felt its energy, and understood its impact. The vision becomes a source of strength, reminding you why the struggle is worth it, why sacrifices are necessary, and why your potential is too valuable to waste. It shifts your focus from short-term discomfort to long-term transformation, from temporary frustration to enduring fulfillment. Every decision, every effort, every setback is reframed as part of the journey toward becoming who you were meant to be, and this perspective transforms obstacles into opportunities for growth and mastery. Finally, embodying your highest self requires action that is consistent, deliberate, and courageous. A vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is scattered energy. By committing daily to the qualities, habits, and mindset of the person you aspire to be, you begin to inhabit that version of yourself. Thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors realign. Your confidence strengthens, and you start to radiate the presence of your highest self in everything you do. This vision is not static. It evolves as you grow, expands as your capacity increases, and continuously challenges you to rise higher. It is the North Star of your life, the force that compels you to reach beyond mediocrity, and the source of the unstoppable momentum that propels you toward the strongest, most empowered version of yourself.